Welcome back, folks. It's been a while since I made a video. Um, I finally completed my Dreadnok Tricycle. Uh, this vehicle was a long time. The concept for this one and the parts that I'd been gathering for this one were always intended to be for a 1/18 scale build. Uh, Unfortunately, the parts that I bought with that concept in mind were too big for the 1/18 scale world. Um, when, of course, the classified 112 scale GI Joe series came out, then the creative juices started flowing again for this project. It's the 1/18 scale Dreadnok original Trike. It was a weird looking vehicle. It was kind of like a Mad Max. Of course, the Dreadnoks are somewhat like that. That's what they do, kind of. It's like a Mad Max world. They piece together, parts for their vehicles, and the Trike was definitely one of those vehicles. The Thunder Machine, same thing with that one. But the Trike was weird looking. It was odd looking. The 1/18 original toy. Uh, I was never really into that Trike, but the concept was pretty neat. Um, so when, of course, Serena came out, the idea for the Trike, started flowing in my head, and I finally felt like I had all the pieces, and I gave it a whirl. And here it is. It came together fairly well. I took some liberties with the design, and I took some liberties with the paint color, the paint scheme, and I'm sure you can tell here and there little tidbits, but for the most part, it's high. I think it's highly recognizable as the original. Some I used four main vehicles, and I'll list them on the details for this video, so you could build your own. But there's a lot of small pieces here and there that I don't remember where I got them from. Some of the little pieces that you might be able to recognize that really come in handy are the erector set pieces. Down here there's a bracket that allows for like a hinge, so it can have some suspension. And then this part right here is another erector set, I believe, piece. So these come in handy. I always go down to Goodwill, and if I ever see any erector sets out there, and there's other companies that kind of had the same style, I always get them. They're usually cheap at Goodwill, just a bag full of them, and they just come in handy. And they came in great for the little aesthetics here. It fit perfect. So that's some of the pieces. But getting back to the build, the front fork and the suspension, this was attained from the Tamiya 1/8 scale Dancing Rider Trike. So that one, I got it originally, you know, back in the days for the 1/18 scale, for what I thought was going to be my 1/18 scale Trike. I shoved it because it was too big for the 1/18 scale, and it was just too big. It was just awkward looking. It's an awkward looking vehicle. So I shelved it, and but for this project, for the 112 scale, the wheel itself looks small, but I think it's in keeping with the 1/18 scale, the original one. Um, so it worked. I think it worked great, and it had great suspension. Because of the angle, because of the build, I did put the servo up front. I had to modify it with a couple other pieces of erector set, and I put the servo up front. The turning radius for this Trike is not good. There's ways to modify that servo in order for it to have a lot more range. I would have to invest a little bit more money on the servo and the receiver, and that gets a little bit complicated, so I won't even go into that. The Trike, the Tamiya Trike, had originally the servo on the back, so this whole thing would go tilt to one side and tilt to the other, and the wheel would move because of the the leaning. So that's how it turned. That's how the Tamiya turned. I didn't want to put that up in here. It just wasn't practical. It wasn't gonna. It was gonna take away from the aesthetics. So I went with that. Another part, one of the biggest parts, is the drivetrain back here. So this one is a Tyco Shell Shocker 2006 RC. Um, this is what it looks like originally. This part is pretty cool. I debated whether to keep it painted or keep it original. I think original might still look cool back here. It's just kind of grungy looking, like a dragon. It's a little bit of Dreadnoky. So this vehicle, I saw it a long time ago, and I decided to buy one. It looked like it had good enough torque, and sure enough, it does. It has two independent motors that move each side independently. What I did for this one was basically strip everything and then modify the axles in order for them to go ahead and be able to get these wheels on. These wheels are from a 1/12 scale dune buggy. There's a few companies out there back, I think in 1990s, that they use these wheels a lot. You might be able to find a cheap dune buggy out there that you can get these wheels, and they're pretty awesome. They're nice and soft and little paddle tires. So I got a couple of these because I have another project that I'm working on for these. But so yeah, on this project I made the connection with my electric speed controller. I made these to go function in unison as opposed to going against each other. I might change that. It gets a little bit technical with an electric speed controller, but it's called a mixer. If your electric speed controller has a mixer, then you can actually control these independently, going one or the other, or opposite or together. So that's an idea that I might have to play with to help with the steering on this one. Still considering it. But this shell shocker is pretty awesome. It's small. As you can tell, I've stripped it. I even shaved the bottom in order for me to get more clearance in the bottom. I always try to maximize that clearance. I hate it when vehicles get stuck on a little pebble. So it has a lot of space down here. So I shaved as much as I could, and then I covered it with a piece of plastic, and so I could get some good clearance in there. It's fairly well. I mean that's pretty good clearance, I think. And the two little motors that run these wheels independently, they're small. I mean, I think they're a 180 size, and I was a little bit worried about the torque that I was gonna create from this, but considering it has two, full size 1/12 scale figures, it has all this equipment, it has a big battery down here. But it does. It moves well. It has no problem with the weight, with the added weight. It's got good torque. It's not popping any wheelies, but it's pretty. It moves. It definitely moves. So that's the main part. This little thing I have. I'm always looking for these guys on eBay. They sell for about 20, maybe $30. For such a little RC, it's kind of expensive, but now that I know what its capabilities, I'm gonna keep my eye on it. Probably get these as many as I can if I could find them less than 20. They're well worth it. I can see a lot of functions for this, especially they have independent function and a lot of torque. I mean, you could do a lot with this. Just keep that in mind, guys. So another vehicle that I used, you might be able to recognize, is the DC Comics 2008 Joker helicopter. It's another weird looking vehicle, but it has good parts to it. This right here is from that, the front and the base and the seat. So most of the body is from that Joker helicopter, the DC Comics 2008 Joker helicopter. This right here is from that. Most of the body is that vehicle. Cool vehicle. I'm trying to make a quadcopter out of one of them with the colors of the swamp. What is it called? The swamp skier for Zartan. But so yeah, I see a lot of potential for that vehicle for the 1/12 scale G.I. Joe classified figures. Keep that one in mind. That's another good one. It's fairly cheap. Probably about $15 on eBay. It's of course 2008, so chances are you're not gonna find it anywhere else other than eBay. The bucket down here, actually I got this from the Lightyear, Mattel Lightyear plasma drill. That's one of those Amazon toys that's selling for cheap. A lot of people have been customizing that one for the 1/12 scale. I bought it thinking that I might be able to use it. I didn't. It looks cool. I've seen some of the modifications for that vehicle. It looks pretty cool. I didn't see much to it. I took it apart, and this is one of the cover for the plasma drill. So I just turned it upside down, and I thought it made a good bucket seat for that. This seat here is a 1/10 scale. It's advertised as a 1/10 scale. There's for an RC vehicle. You can find that easily on eBay. And I had it lying around, and it fit perfect for the 1/12 scale. Those RC interior scales for the 1/10 scale RC world, they're so wonky and off all the time. They're so scale specific for the outside, but they never really look at the scale for the interior. I always thought that was a little bit weird for the RC world. But yeah. Okay, so the cannon is actually 1/18 scale. It's like it goes up to here, and it has a little function for a little rocket to shoot out. That's from the Vamp, from the newer Vamp. I don't know what year they came out of, but I had that lying around, and it's cut off right here, so you could put in the little shooting rocket. It was stubbly and it looked weird, but I thought it was kind of scaled for the 1/12 scale, so I just added an extension, and I had a light up piece from I don't know what toy lying around, and I figured I might as well put that in there, and so I could light up. And so I just ran some cable to a 3.7 battery back here. And it's just a nice little touch. Not sure if you could see it. Let's turn off the lights here. But it kind of looks cool. And I put a little sticker here for a laser cannon. It was just a nice little touch that I was able to put together at the last minute. Unfortunately, the turret here, it doesn't move around. I'm pretty sure I could have gotten it to, but the whole bucket would have had to have been set back a little bit more. I don't know. I think I just got lazy on that, to tell you the truth. But the next one, if I make another one, that for sure is gonna turn, and then the turret too. The turret is fixed. The bucket is fixed. But I mean, there's a lot you can do with it. There's a lot. But I'm happy with how it came out. So the figures, of course, they're full figures. They're not cut off anywhere. You can remove them. I made a little bracket back here or down here for the battery. There's a switch here, and I guess we should give it a whirl. So I put the on-off switch here. So the cables, I left them exposed, and in here, inside the gas tank, there's a lot of space in here. where I put the electric speed controller and the receiver. They're fairly small. They're pretty standard. Let me see. And the battery down here, it's 7.4 volts. I might be able to upgrade this to 11 volts. I might be able to get more power out of it. Maybe even pop a wheelie. Don't know yet. Let's give it a whirl. Okay, turning it on. It's fully proportional. I like the suspension because it really does look like real good working suspension. Alright, take it back about the wheelie. Yeah. So that's a little bit of the function. I'll get it out there to the road and see and show you a little bit more how fast it is and the torque, and see how it handles on the dirt and the sand, and a little bit more of a function. It'll be interesting. Definitely be interesting. All right, folks. Like usual, if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, and answer those questions. Any more parts about it, the electric speed controller, the receiver, all that stuff, the points of articulation. That takes a little bit of figuring to the suspension. So most of the time it's just trial and error, but I'll do my best to help out with the build if you have any questions out there. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for all those comments. I do appreciate them, and I look forward to seeing what kind of customs you folks come up with too. I'm always looking for those customs that you folks come up with too, and they inspire me to make my own. All right, folks, you folks have a good night, and hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you soon.